Hello, hello. Currently looking. Zoom in the Kherson Oblast district. We find the Dnipro River. It is a very, very large river, as you can see here. Ooh. Hear myself, that's not good. The Dnipro River. Okay. Thank you all for liking and subscribing. There, sorry about that. Dnipro River. We're just going to be looking here, where the dam used to be. Here, the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant with 6 reactors there. And then we're just going to take a tour of the muddy land that remains of this once great river. We might even go back in time lapses on satellite to see what it might have looked like in the before time, before the illegal occupation and Russian invasion and aggression of Ukraine and its people. Ukraine did not provoke this war. Ukraine did not want this war on their own soil or a war at all. 10 years. It's going on 10 years since the occupation and original annexation Crimea. So we're going to take a look closer at the Dnipro River. Trying to get a rough idea of just the impending flood that devastated the land, that washed everything out, that spread disease all along where it would touch, contaminating water sources completely, which we'll talk about. Because the Dnipro River wasn't just a slow leak that turned into a crack, that turned into something more of a dam failure. This was sabotage and direct explosions on the dam. Russian forces have done it before while escaping, or I should say evacuating, because allegedly those were all, I'm not going to get into that. The amount of water displacement is just terrifying. Probably before Palestine, this was one of the greatest humanitarian disasters to unfold that I could see on satellite, especially the one that I could see on satellite. So looking at this river, lots of inhabitants, a lot of downtown inhabitants, everything flooded horribly. Some regions several feet of water because of the amount of water that was running. You have a lot of different areas of water, so you have water running over. It still has to fill up some gaps. Tore apart homes, businesses, infrastructure, roads, pipes. It flooded businesses, it contaminated water, and the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant lost a resource for itself, and the Ukrainian people are afraid. Diseases being spread, contaminated water getting just everywhere, harming dogs, cats, you know, your pets too. So inadvertently drink some of that water if because this water wasn't just near the dam. When the dam burst, it went everywhere fast. A wall of water that would hit somebody like a car. You just get rolled up into it. There's so much force and power. But the impending tidal wave that crashed into the whole southern section of Ukraine, it lasted for, I believe, 15 days till the water started to recede. 15 days of hell. You look there. Now it's hard to see these banks, just how it recedes and slopes down. The weight pulls it down. You have a lot of river channels, canals, also like this. That are very dry. They're very, very, very dry. There's no water in these areas, these ancillary canals and channels for irrigation, other purposes. A little bit better shot. All these fields. So you have a lot of irrigation going out to a lot of fields, a lot of agricultural purposes that will use this water to grow all along the Dnipro River. Pandemonium to think that this river is mostly just mud and just a little bit of water was left. People having to brave the mud and walk into it to try to get some remaining water because contaminated soil, contaminated water, everything it touches, including pulling the water out of all these areas like this right here. Completely void of water. As the water pulled out from the original dam destruction, all the water, every molecule, membrane, just wanted to evacuate with all that other water. That was a signal, and it was very alarming to see that even the channels and ditches, they still have no water, even after all this rain. The water just goes right back into this giant river that used to be a river, now it's a mostly muddy riverbed. At this area right here, six and a fifth kilometers wide, fifth. 6.25 kilometers wide. It's not a small river. It wasn't a small river. The Russians knew what they were doing. They understood the infrastructure use of this hydroelectric dam, and they completely destroyed it. They leveled it, allowing for hundreds of millions of gallons of water to speed throughout this river into far south Ukraine, going out into the sea. Absolutely unreal patterns that we see here. And then, of course, all the agricultural fields that were benefiting from the Dnipro River's channels, and like this right here on the northern side of the river bank. Just absolutely dry. No water, no irrigation. The fields that relied on this technique can no longer survive. These fields, they go for miles from the Dnipro River. Starvation as a weapon by destroying the agricultural fields and infrastructure that allow for the growth of food in your own country. It goes on for so many miles and miles and miles, or kilometers and kilometers and kilometers. Wait, it is a nightmare of destroyed fields. See, Russia had been destroying Ukrainian wheat fields and other fields for a long time, driving tanks over them, just setting them on fire, just doing what they could to destroy Ukrainian power and food. And self-sustaining food is power, and taking away that power harmed Ukrainians. Millions of Ukrainians. With Russia using starvation as a weapon, they started to begin to use water as a weapon. With just powerful explosions that were on the Nova Kakhovka hydroelectric dam. All this water just got pulled out very violently in very, very strange, alarming patterns, because it's like you just tilt the glass upside down and all that water just comes splashing down. The water raced out of this river system, just ripping water out here by its membranes. Every molecule was violent. Violent enough to completely void all of these agricultural purpose ditches that have been purposely dug, driven to a region that needs water. Water, the river, it gets high, it gets low. Be able to monitor that. But now there is no water, it's very little water, and you have to get into the river to be able to get there. This isn't a short drop. Dozens of feet to get to the bed. So people that are used to getting in the river just by its surface water suddenly find themselves, with a 50-foot drop into a riverbed. You don't know how deep that mud goes and how much give it's going to give before you know what's going on. It's very dangerous. Plus, you don't know what's in this water. There could be shells, there could be ammunition, there could be anything inside. This water came from all over the Dnipro River, smashing against the side just east of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, and not as much ripping the water out of the cooling ponds and that. You see how this pulls up right here in the river? Algae, toxic. The water becomes foul, stagnant, no longer usable, non-potable. I guess that means something else. Anyways, water you literally can't use for anything right now because you don't know what's in it. Just how much damage did pulling hundreds of millions of gallons out of a river system in a short period of time would cause. A lot. Dry, dry, dry. This was a little lake bed right here. Used to be a big lake. I know the date is June 6, 2023 was the date of the explosion and sabotage of the Dnipro River, because it wasn't just the hydroelectric dam, mind you. The whole river, all the water in it, its contents, spilled out, no, flushed out into the sea. We're just, let me go back. Perhaps I know I kind of just glossed over it, but let's say find a, there we go. This is the dam right here. Right here. On all this water. Massive amounts of water, generations of water, completely spilled out during the daytime of June 6, 2023. The Dnipro River emptied itself out on all its contents in a violent event. This shouldn't have happened, and it wouldn't have happened if Russia did not completely sabotage this dam. The dam was not a failure on Ukraine's side, as they knew the inevitable was coming and tried to make... What are you going to do? How could they have prevented this? The occupiers had this land, completely booby-trapped the entire region. Ukraine is still the most dangerous place on earth to be because it is so heavily mined. There really wasn't another disaster like this to speak of. It's a humanitarian disaster, an ecological disaster, and it is considered ecocide because it is a massive amount of water that's lost between environments that both men and animals use. So it's more than just humanitarian because it is a stable river and a lot of even just habits of birds. Now they have to fly down 50 feet. Let me see if I can moisture index. Get a better idea. Right here. The dam was defeated, destroyed, sabotaged, and the Russians evacuated with this happening behind them. They don't care. How do you fight an enemy that doesn't care? Because it's also affected Russian soldiers as much as anyone else. Just that they're on the other side of the river doesn't mean anything. They still saw several feet of flooding and a lot of loss of munitions and other things. I don't recall anybody having died directly due to the water being pulled out, because like I said, it is a very, very violent, fast act. So if you were, I can't imagine anybody doing anything recreational, I should say, in these areas, especially when they were being occupied. This is the Nova Kakhovka Dam. And this is the absolute muddy river that now makes up the Dnipro River. It is a massive. You have areas that were reservoirs that fed into riverlets. These tiny little rivers, well, not tiny. I would imagine these creeks. Creeks. These driven creeks. It is absolutely with great respect I go through this. Because I still follow happenings in Ukraine. Still is a nightmare. 400. Pull that. Now I sorry, it's taking a moment to transfer the image over for some reason. There. Losses of the Russian occupiers in Ukraine. This is from Live Ukraine on Telegram. From February 24th, 2022 to February 16th, 2024. Personnel. 400,300 dead male Russian soldiers. 400,000 dead Russian soldiers in a war that was only supposed to take 5 days to completely annex Kiev. This is madness. These numbers are on another level of loss. 6,465 tanks, 12,129 armored carriers, personal armored vehicle carriers, 984 rocket systems destroyed, 671 air defense systems, 332 planes, with another 3 that were just brought down today. So 335 planes, 325 helicopters downed, 7,408 unmanned aircraft or drones, 1,895 cruise missiles, 25 warships or boats, and 1 submarine. That's 25 warships and boats and a submarine against an army, against a country that doesn't have a navy. Ukraine doesn't have a navy, and they dropped one of the submarines and 25 of some of their larger ships. 12,716 automotive technology, trucks, everything like that. 1,528 special equipment. This is absolutely insane. If anybody thought the hundreds of millions of dollars that Putin's palace cost, what is the cost of this war on the Russian economy? Even if you don't want to take sanctions into effect, which you would have to, these losses are just far too much, especially it's 400,000 of male serving ages. Well, I guess that they didn't do that. They just, anybody really, they were just put out into the front line. This is 400,300 Russian soldiers dead. Now we continue. looking at this river system that the water, while it was raging, these spinning torrents eventually became rolled into a very tight knot of rope that eventually spiraled itself into this smaller little river here that's dozens of feet down into the river system itself. It's a very unhealthy looking river. These slopes, the river banks falling in. There's going to be a lot of erosion. The land is going to lose a lot of stability because it had the power of the river to push upon the banks. There are so many catastrophic failures as a result of the Russian saboteur acts on this dam that even a generation from now we'll still be seeing and feeling the effects of this disaster. Continue just looking at the marbling, I guess you could say, of the bottom of the river. Now, these marks aren't just for the destruction of the dam, the water pulling it out and spiraling and just turning into just a tremendous amount of power coming through, you know, hundreds of kilometers. It's it is one of the top greatest humanitarian disasters that I can think of at the top of my head as of right now when it comes to the war in Ukraine. You see here, there's a little bit of water here. Looks like this little reservoir held something, but still not enough to be able to go up, over, and forward. You see there's water here too. That's probably the only water. But it looks like it's dammed off, so this water was dammed off in the time that the dam, the Nova Kakhovka dam was destroyed. But still, yeah, some water here. This great blue line that runs through this river system had to have been horrible to hear. Coming up to this reservoir system, this is massive. Horrible losses. Let me go back to (2021). Let me find one not obscured by cloud coverage. This is December 22nd, 2021. Far before the destruction of the dam. So full, so much power. Oh. Here is the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Here are the reactors. I don't remember the order, if it's 1 to 6 or 1 to 6. 6. You can see that there is water. These cooling stations are turned on. But I can't imagine all these reactors being online right now. It's a lot of water that needs to be pulled in and out of this cooling pond here. You can see the cooling towers right here, the cooling stacks. That's shadow. Shadow. It's a great big huge devastating loss, because Russia has been trying to transfer the power line over to their own country. Why else would they want this? After many failed attempts, they still wanted to do this when they destroyed the dam. It doesn't make sense. And there used to be water that was literally in the river system bumping up. Now it's complete absence of water, but you can still see where there was. Like a pipe here. It starts to get narrow. So you start to see a little bit more water, but generation of damage. There. You can start to see more water on the surface, but it's still very deep. You can tell that because you can see the bank. Terrible losses. Cities that depended on water from the river have nothing now. All dried up. No moisture. Devoid of water. Top. Riverbank here. It's a pretty significant water drop of agricultural fields. That looks just This whole river system here used to supply so many settlements and villages and farming estates to so many. It's not going to return. It's not coming back. This water is not coming back. It'll take time, I believe, to repair the dam. But the hydroelectric power station itself was destroyed. So it's not just that, oh, some concrete barriers need to be erected and put in place for the water while it's still low. No. The actual dam itself, the hydroelectric dam, was damaged. Now we're going to look at this one more time, but we're going to look at it in the before and after of the June 6, 2023 destruction of the Nova Kakhovka Dam. The sandbar looking areas, bridges, roads. Still looks like there's some water here, but that's due to the presence of, wait, nope. Shouldn't be able to see that. Oh, that's industrial. Very industrialized, Zaporozhye. Not sure, this is our part of the front line. Like there's some water up here going north. But still, a great deal receding. All these islands in the middle especially get revealed. The water is not as down as it is going further south in Ukraine. Start seeing the bottom of the river here. This is going into January, so this is sea ice here actually. This is broken up sea ice. So there still is some water here and going up, but it's slowly making its way out through the entire thing. Back to the latest. '23, June 5th. Everything is muddy, and soggy, and wet, and salting. So what I should be over right here is the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Here we see above the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant just how far this water, as I described before, comes across on land. This comes up to about here. So there's a steep drop off, but it's not, you're not in the river just yet. Now we come back up. Now we go forward to the 8th, where the cycles are starting of the elimination of water from the river due to the sabotage, explosions, destruction of the Nova Kakhovka hydroelectric dam. Is massive, massive amounts of power. Like these rocks, these stones here, shouldn't be able to see these stones, but they're all revealed. See here, that's the 5th, that's the 8th. These giant stones like this should not be seen. And then go to the this absolute unbridled destruction. This is still sore just after, just days after 15 days of hell. Go back. Here we are. Nice, healthy hydroelectric power plant with looks like at least one gate open. Okay. Go back. I can keep going back. You can see just the intensity of the water that's coming out that's being held back. And then next on the 8th here, absolutely destroyed. Now this is not a small, this height right here. Massive. Now all the bays, areas of water, pockets of water were all pulled out. Sorry, I'm having issues with this. It's not loading up as it should be. I try refreshing it. Now my camera is going in and out. Not good. Not good. I might be losing internet. There we go. I want to lose internet. Turn a stream. Still waiting for the population of this. Of these scans above, north above the Nova Kakhovka Dam. Not sure what the issue is here. It was loading fine, just fine. Now it's not getting anything. At least isn't populating at all with satellite scans. Test. Yeah, I'm still getting internet. Well, yeah, I'm still on stream, so of course, but I imagine it has something to do with this site. You can try to talk through it. I'm also losing lagging on my camera. Two things at once. Oh, wow. Well, we looked at definitely what we wanted to look at before this site decided to call it quits. Very unfortunate, but we were pretty much in the last run of the Dnipro River, and I think we saw pretty alarming the physical effect of the loss of the river, especially the protection of the soil and the banks. Otherwise, you start getting blowing out because water from the soil that's pushing out is eventually going to cause collapses into the river system it is now. Alright, I thank you for watching. Thank you for liking and subscribing. I should be back with another stream soon. Thank you. One more time. Refresh. Now if I log in, will it still do the same thing? Oh, it's working again, I think. I can see a sliver of a scan, so yeah, it's probably done for now. Even log again isn't helping. It's real unfortunate this is going on, that I'm not able to pull up any of the scans from any day. I'll give another minute. Alright, I think I'll call this stream here. It was over 2 weeks of hell, of very scary water. On June 6, 2023. Then Russian forces. Oh, look at that. Back up now. I don't know why. You took a 5-minute break on me. Yeah, but even I understand like throttling accounts, but shouldn't be throttling my account. Right. Rather couldn't be, because I'm not over my allowances. You can see the water, just how crazy it was inside the cooling pond. You can see how far up the water was here. Absolutely unreal. This changes climates. Water is not able to condensate. It's the same. Almost 2 years now. See the island here. Two and 3/4 kilometers. Madness, massive. Drove them to do this. Russian forces blew up the Nova Kakhovka dam, causing a very alarming, immediate humanitarian and ecological crisis. They didn't need to blow up this dam. Ukraine did not booby trap the dam on themselves. Why would they allow Russians to get away safely if they wanted to booby? If it was the Ukrainians booby trapping their own property, their own infrastructure, why would they wait until the Russians are free and safe and clear with the explosion before it goes off? It's when the Russians are escaping, it blows up behind them. This is how it is, what it was. So the first time they tried to blow up a hydroelectric dam while fleeing. It is terrible. Russia should and will face justice, especially on the ecological side of this. Is just ruined farming, agricultural all throughout Ukraine. It's just alarming. Using starvation as a weapon. We're over here in Kherson. Russian terror and aggression and violence. There's no line they won't cross. They haven't. They will continue this war and continue it as long as they can, even though, remember, 400,000 dead Russian soldiers. It is barbaric and horrible. People are just being ripped out of their lives, being thrown into the front line. They have no chance of surviving. For one man to keep his very, very high-class, fancy, rich life, is that it? That's what they're afraid of. As you see, millions of people have lost everything in Ukraine. Millions of people had to find refuge in another country with a language they didn't speak, in a system they didn't know, learning things they didn't know. You're not learning about Ukrainian 91 borders, the fall of the Soviet Union, creation of the Ukraine country. Alexei Navalny was half Ukrainian, half Russian, and half mad, half logical, enough to be able to be a real thorn in the sides of elites, pointing out the hypocritical stand that they take is throwing all these poor lives into war while keeping in their bunker very safe. In fact, it is also a humanitarian disaster. This dam flooding everything with contaminated water. Alright, I thank you for watching. I will call the stream here now. Have a good weekend.